So news just came out that the Packers have decided to sign Kenny Clark to an extension. So Kenny Clark getting an extension done before Jordan Love. It came out here from Adam Schefter, who said this: Packers Pro Bowl nose tackle Kenny Clark signed a 3-year, $64 million extension today with Green Bay per sources. The deal was negotiated by at Wasserman, agents at D. Hendrickson 41 and at CJ LeBoy, and pays Clark $29 million in 2024 and could bring his career earnings to over $150 million. So this means that Kenny Clark now signs his third contract with Green Bay after being drafted back in 2016 in the first round. He, of course, had his first contract after getting drafted, got an extension back in 2020, and now in 2024, with 2024 being the final year of his contract where he would have been a free agent after the season, the Packers decide to lock him up and keep Kenny Clark around here for the next few seasons. And if we look at his contract, and when it comes to on a per year basis, it comes out to about $21.3 million per year. And I was looking at Over the Cap that ranks the different contracts among defensive players. And if you just look at interior defensive linemen and their contracts on a per year basis, this puts Kenny Clark as the 12th highest paid interior defensive lineman in the NFL. And I think that's honestly a pretty solid value for the Packers. If you take a look at some of Kenny Clark's stats last season, he was tied for the 7th most sacks last year among interior defensive linemen per PFF with 9, 7th. And then he's 7th when it comes to pressures among interior defensive linemen at 64 per PFF. And I would say one area of his game where maybe he's a little less strong than the other, he's much better when it comes to rushing the passer. You can tell that by his stats. You look at his total tackles, he's tied for 52nd in tackles. And so I think for the Packers to get Kenny Clark as the 12th highest paid interior defensive lineman is a pretty solid value, and I'm very satisfied with the Packers deciding to get this kind of deal done, because you look at Jeff Hafley coming in as the new defensive coordinator, with Kenny Clark being one of the foundational pieces on this Packers team, especially on the defensive line. I think that to have him here for the next few seasons after 2024, you won't have to try to find someone new if you were to let Kenny Clark go after the 2024 season, because, as the Packers adapt and grow in the first year under Jeff Hafley, it'll be nice that Clark will be back once again. And going into the second year, the Packers will have, a lot of the same pieces that they had in this 2024 season. So I love Kenny Clark. I'm very happy to see him back in Green Bay. And there's been lots of talk about this defensive line and just the difference in how they're going to operate under Jeff Hafley when it comes to really being focused on just shooting through one gap instead of having to sort of, play both gaps, which from different reports from coaches and things like that, sounds like these defensive linemen will have that ability to be much more explosive. And I'm curious to see how it affects Kenny Clark and his season in 2024. And Kenny Clark, still only 28 years old, even though it's his third contract, entered the NFL at a very young age. I think he was about 20 years old. And he's going to turn 29 in December. And so I don't think he's at a point where, let's say he was 30, 31, I'm not sure the Packers would have given him an extension when it comes to that age potentially, but considering he's still 28, he gets another contract with the Packers, and he's been one of the more consistent players on defense, only missing one game the past 3 seasons. So I'm happy to see this news. If you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe. Training camp starts tomorrow, and I will be out with update videos. So stay tuned for that. Make sure your notifications are turned on so you don't miss any Packers news, and I'll see you guys next time.